it remains a big part of our idea of who we are. If you head west, you're reminded of individuals who were involved in this gigantic story of assembling this continent-wide country piece by piece.
Who are the Frontiersmen? The Frontiersmen were a remarkable breed of men. They were often rough and illiterate, sometimes brutal and vicious, often seeking an escape in the wilderness of mid-America from crimes committed back east, in the beautiful but deadly country which would one day become known as West Virginia, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, and Illinois. More often than not, they left their bones to bleach beside forest paths or on the banks of the Ohio River. These frontiersmen are the subject of Allan Eckert's dramatic history project, researched for 7 years. It is one of the most in-depth collections to date, more so under which a frontiersman is a person who lives on the frontier or the border between settled and unsettled land. Frontiersmen often cleared land, built shelters, raised children, and grew crops. They also hunted and trapped animals for food and furs. Some of the masters of the past that survive in the frontier have fantastic stories that echo through eternity. Men like Louis Wetzel, Simon Kenton, Meshach Browning, Daniel Boone. These men have carved their initials in more than one tree on the frontier, and some like Meshach Browning authored his own stories in his memoir, Meshach Browning, 44 Years, Life of a Hunter. During an Indian attack on Fort Boonesborough in Kentucky in April 1777, a bullet struck Daniel Boone's leg, and he found himself staring up at a Shawnee tomahawk. Simon charged, shot the scalper, and clubbed another attacker, then lifted Boone in his arms and carried him, dodging and darting, all the way to safety, etching his name as an epic bad mamma jamma. Enough that Daniel Boone said, "Well, Simon, today you've behaved like a man. Indeed, you are a fine fellow." Louis Wetzel carved his epitaph into a rock outside of Wheeling. Probably one of the greatest scouts and frontiersmen to hit the history books is Louis Wetzel. You see, Wyandotte raiders captured Louis and his younger brother Jacob as they were working in the fields with their father and their older brother George. These two escaped in the middle of the night from their Indian attackers and made their way back to civilization. They eluded recapture 3 times and crossed the Ohio to an island in mid-river on a raft that they made out of logs and strips of bark. Some boys from Wheeling settlement were fishing on the island. They helped them the rest of the way home. Their family and friends welcomed Louis and his brother back as if they had returned from the dead. This experience focused Louis' concentration for the rest of his life. From then on, Louis spent every spare moment perfecting himself as a forest warrior. Daniel Boone left home on a military expedition during the French and Indian War. He served as a wagoner for Brigadier General Edward Braddock during his army's calamitous defeat at Turtle Creek near modern-day Pittsburgh. A skilled survivor, Daniel Boone saved his own life by escaping the French and Indian ambush on horseback once. But on the frontier, frontiersmen stuck together. In 1769, Boone led an expedition that discovered a trail west through the Cumberland Gap. In 1775, he settled an area he called Boonesborough in Kentucky, where he faced Indian resistance. Boonesborough is an unincorporated community in Madison, Kentucky, founded by the famed frontiersman Daniel Boone in 1775 as one of the first English-speaking settlements west of the Appalachian Mountains. Boonesborough lies in the central part of the state along the Kentucky River and is the site of Fort Boonesborough State Park, which includes the Kentucky River Museum. The park has been rebuilt to look like a working fort, similar to the time period that Boone would have resided there. One of the greatest heroes of the Old West was Kit Carson. Kid had a long and varied career. He was a fur trapper, a guide, an Indian agent, and a soldier. In all of his activities, he showed himself to be a fearless man of the wilderness. An illiterate mountain man, Kit Carson was fluent in Spanish and 5 Indian languages. He twice married Native American women, yet led brutal war against the Navajo. When the West was a mystery to most Americans, Carson mastered it, and his expertise made him not only famous, but also sought after. Eventually, by helping to spur a migration that would change the West forever, he unwittingly became an agent in the destruction of the life that he loved so. Learn more about the frontier and frontiersmen by reading Allan Eckert's classic novel, The Frontiersman. And if you like this video, consider subscribing to the channel and check out some of the other videos on this channel. For more colonial history, French and Indian War history, and more frontiersman history. And always remember, guys, get out there and explore.